King Charles is about to make the most dangerous decision of his life, and it could end the British monarchy in 48 hours. Right now, at this very moment, 5.2 million Britons have signed a single petition, the largest in UK history, larger than the populations of Scotland and Wales combined. And it's demanding one thing: remove this government immediately. But this isn't just about numbers. This is about something far more dangerous, something that hasn't happened in Britain for 200 years, a complete collapse of trust between the people and those who rule them. Natural subscribe moment. This story is moving faster than anything we've seen in modern British politics. New developments are breaking every few hours. If you want the latest updates as this constitutional crisis unfolds, hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens in the next 48 hours will change Britain forever, and you won't want to miss a single moment. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes. 3 weeks ago, an ordinary petition appeared on Parliament's official website. It called for immediate general elections. Nothing unusual. Petitions appear on that site every single day. Most get a few hundred signatures and disappear into the digital void. But this one was different. Within 24 hours, 100,000 people had signed. By hour 48, 500,000. Political analysts started paying attention. By the end of week one, over 2 million Britons had added their names. Then something unprecedented happened. The numbers didn't just continue, they accelerated. 3 million signatures, then 4 million, then 5 million, now 5.2 million, and climbing every single hour. We're watching history being written in real time. This isn't just the largest petition in British history. It's larger than anything any Western democracy has ever seen in the digital age. This isn't a fringe movement. This isn't a coordinated bot campaign. This is a nation speaking with one unified voice, louder than it has spoken in generations. And that voice is saying, we've had enough. Inside 10 Downing Street, the atmosphere has transformed into what staffers are calling bunker mentality. Senior advisors are working 18-hour shifts, surviving on coffee and adrenaline. Crisis meetings are being held every 6 hours. The Prime Minister's schedule has been completely cleared. Everything else has been cancelled because the numbers don't lie. And they're absolutely devastating. The Prime Minister's approval rating has crashed to 18%. Let that sink in for a moment. 18%. That's lower than during the expenses scandal that nearly destroyed Parliament, lower than the darkest days of Brexit chaos, lower than any government in modern British history. But here's the number that's keeping Westminster up at night, the number that's causing real panic behind those famous doors. 73% of British voters now believe this government has lost the right to govern. Read that again. 73%. This isn't political disapproval. This isn't normal opposition frustration. This is a complete and total collapse of democratic legitimacy. When 3/4 of your nation believes you have no right to power, you don't have a PR problem. You have a constitutional crisis, and the crisis has now reached the gates of Buckingham Palace. Social media has become the command centre of a digital revolution. The hashtag General Election Now has been trending globally for 8 consecutive days, generating over 2 billion impressions. TikTok videos of ordinary Britons demanding change have hit 150 million views in a single week. YouTube creators are gaining hundreds of thousands of subscribers overnight simply by covering this story. But it's not just young people on their phones. Pensioners are filming videos demanding change. Small business owners are sharing stories of economic collapse. NHS nurses are describing their daily struggles in heartbreaking detail. Teachers, factory workers, taxi drivers, everyone is speaking out. Across every generation, every region, every political background, the message is the same. We want our democracy back. And now, for the first time in decades, that anger has arrived at the doorstep of the monarchy itself. Protesters are gathering outside Buckingham Palace. Their signs read, "Charles, choose democracy or be a puppet. King or coward, the crown must pick a side." Photos of these demonstrations are going viral around the world. International news outlets are showing the British monarchy under direct public pressure not seen since the death of Princess Diana in 1997. Palace insiders report that the atmosphere inside those walls is one of genuine fear. King Charles's approval rating has dropped below 50% for the first time since his coronation. That might not sound catastrophic, but royal advisors know the brutal arithmetic of monarchy. Public faith is everything. It's the only thing that keeps the institution alive. Once that faith begins to erode, once people start questioning whether the crown has any purpose at all, the entire structure becomes vulnerable, and right now that structure is shaking. Charles now faces an impossible choice, a decision that will define not just his reign, but potentially the future of the British monarchy itself. Option 1, he dissolves Parliament and forces immediate elections. If he does this, he will be accused of staging a royal coup. Conservative MPs will brand him a traitor to parliamentary sovereignty. Constitutional scholars will argue he's violated 300 years of carefully maintained political neutrality. International allies will question Britain's democratic stability. Foreign investors will panic. The precedent would be explosive. Option 2, he stays completely silent and does nothing. If he chooses this path, he risks being seen as complicit in the collapse of British democracy itself. He becomes the king who stood by and watched while his country burned. The monarch who protected a failed government because he was too afraid to act. His silence could destroy what remains of the monarchy's credibility with an entire generation. There is no safe choice. There is no middle ground. Every option carries catastrophic risk. Behind closed doors, Charles is spending hours each day in emergency consultations. He's meeting with constitutional experts, legal scholars, and former prime ministers. Tony Blair has been to the palace, so has John Major. Lord Butler, one of Britain's most respected constitutional authorities, has been advising the King on precedents and possibilities. A televised address has already been drafted, multiple versions actually, each representing a different course of action. But the contents of these speeches remain some of the most tightly guarded secrets in British politics. No one outside the inner circle knows what Charles will say, or when he'll say it, or even if he'll say anything at all. Meanwhile, the economic damage is mounting by the hour. The British pound has fallen 4% in just 5 days. Currency traders are dumping sterling as fast as they can, terrified of what's coming next. The FTSE 100 has shed £80 billion in market value. Billions of pounds of wealth simply evaporated because investors no longer trust Britain's stability. The Federation of Small Businesses conducted an emergency survey. The results were shocking. 71% of members want immediate elections just to restore some basic economic stability. These aren't political activists. These are business owners trying to survive. And they're begging for this crisis to end before it destroys them. The Governor of the Bank of England has held emergency meetings with the Treasury, warning that continued political paralysis could trigger a full-blown financial crisis, not just a downturn. A crisis, the kind that devastates economies for years. And the pressure isn't just coming from inside Britain. International alarm is growing by the day. Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz reportedly called King Charles directly last week. The conversation was described as frank and urgent. Translation: Scholz warned that Britain's chaos is threatening to destabilise European relations at the worst possible time. France's Emmanuel Macron has postponed a planned state visit to London, citing constitutional uncertainty. In diplomatic language, that's a public slap in the face. The White House issued a rare late-night statement emphasising the need for democratic accountability and institutional stability. That's American diplomatic code for fix this immediately or face consequences. Even NATO has gotten involved. Alliance officials have requested detailed briefings from British security services concerned that political chaos in London could weaken the organisation's second largest military power. In a world already destabilised by global tensions, the last thing NATO needs is one of its key members falling apart from the inside. Inside Westminster, the pressure is reaching a breaking point. MPs across all parties are now preparing for a cross-party vote of no confidence. Labour, Liberal Democrats, even rebel Conservatives are coordinating behind the scenes. Parliamentary insiders say the government will almost certainly lose this vote. It's not a question of if, but when. Constitutional convention is clear. If a government loses a confidence vote, the Prime Minister must resign and call elections. But there are whispers, quiet conversations in parliamentary corridors that this Prime Minister might refuse, that he might claim calling elections during civil unrest would be rewarding mob rule, that he might try to cling to power despite losing Parliament's confidence. If that happens, Britain will enter constitutional territory that hasn't been seen since the English Civil War. A direct three-way conflict between Parliament, the government and the Crown. Nobody knows what happens then. There are no precedents. There are no clear rules. And that uncertainty is the most dangerous thing of all. Across the nation, protests are multiplying every single day. London, Manchester, Birmingham, Leeds, Cardiff, Glasgow, Belfast. Every major city is seeing demonstrations, and these aren't typical protests with the usual suspects. These are families marching together. Conservative voters and Labour supporters side by side. Brexit and Remain voters united for the first time in nearly a decade. Police forces are admitting privately that they're unprepared for sustained nationwide demonstrations on this scale. The Metropolitan Police have requested emergency support from regional forces. MI5 has issued warnings that extremist groups on both the far right and far left might try to exploit the chaos. Intelligence briefings warn that even a single violent incident at one protest could trigger a chain reaction leading to nationwide unrest. The situation is a powder keg and everyone's terrified of the spark. Now organisers are preparing what they're calling Democracy Day, a coordinated national shutdown scheduled for next week. Teachers, nurses, transport workers, postal workers, civil servants and millions of private sector employees are all planning to walk out simultaneously one day. One message, economic analysts have run the numbers. A single day of complete national shutdown could cost Britain £15 billion. £15 billion in economic damage in 24 hours. It would be the biggest disruption to British society since the 2008 financial crash. This is no longer just about politics. This is about whether 1,000 years of British institutions can survive in the age of social media, whether the monarchy has any meaningful role when democracy itself appears to be collapsing, whether the ancient bond between ruler and ruled can be restored before it shatters completely and irreparably. King Charles spent 70 years preparing to be monarch, 7 decades watching, learning, waiting for his moment, but nothing in all those years of preparation, nothing in the entire history of royal training could have prepared him for this moment. His decision now will echo through British history for generations. School children will study this moment decades from now. Historians will debate whether he made the right choice. The very survival of the crown as an institution depends on whether he chooses to stand with the people or with the politicians. Britain stands on the edge of its greatest political transformation since World War II. The government is cornered with nowhere to run. The people are united in a way nobody thought possible anymore, and the king faces a choice that will either define his legacy or destroy the monarchy as we know it. The entire world is watching, world leaders are watching, investors are watching, historians are watching, and Charles has less than 48 hours to make his decision. Strong CTA. So here's the question I want you to think about. What should King Charles do? Should he dissolve Parliament, risk accusations of a royal coup, but potentially save British democracy? Or should he remain silent, maintain constitutional neutrality and risk watching democracy collapse while he does nothing? There's no easy answer here, but I want to know what you think. Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you think this story matters, if you think people need to understand what's happening in Britain right now, share this video with someone who needs to see it, because what happens in the next 48 hours will change the United Kingdom forever. This is the biggest constitutional crisis in 200 years, and you're watching it unfold in real time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because when Charles finally speaks, when he makes his decision, you need to be among the first to know. This story isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. The question is, will Britain's democracy survive? Or are we watching the beginning of the end? Stay tuned. History is being made.